Hello, today I'm taking a look at Urbion, the latest game on the Oniverse from Shadi Torby and Impatience Games. If this name sounds familiar to you, it's because Urbion, also known as Equilibrium, was actually the second game on the Oniverse line back when it was still coming in the small deck of cards format. Now this is the second edition that comes with new artwork and more expansions than the original. The original had 2 expansions, this one has 7. So in terms of rules, nothing changed, but you have new artwork and new expansions. So let me just explain the game briefly. So your goal in Urbion is to balance the 12 city cards. So here I have revealed 4 cities, and there are more cities in this deck of cards. In the base game there are 12, and you want to balance them because they are always in chaos. So whenever a new city comes on the board, you need to reveal 2 cards from the deck. Positive cards go on the left, and if you draw a negative card like here, it goes on the right. So now this city is not in balance. Why? Because the positive is a +1 and the negative is a -2. So if we wanted to balance this city, we would have to, for example, add a +1 here so that the pluses and the negatives would equal 0. So this is the type of cards that you're gonna have in the deck. It's negative cards, positive cards, so yellow is positive, this dark purple is negative, and you also have chaos. So chaos cards, whenever they come, they will try to destabilize the city. So they will always go to the side that is currently higher. So right now we have a -2 and a 1, so we would put this as a -5 here, which will make our jobs harder. So we are gonna finish setting up. So each city, when it comes into the board, will come with 2 cards. So these are the cards. The term that they use for this type of cards is, so dream cards, incubi, and sonai. So incubi are the positive ones, sonai are the negative ones. Then you have 8 cards. So let's finish setting up the other cities. We have a negative, and another negative, more negatives, more negatives, a +5. So we drew the +5 as the first card. So what we do is draw the next one, and that chaos becomes the same, so positive. Okay, so we have here multiple cities of balance, and just to explain how the cards work, there are 4 elements in the game, as you can see here. So there's air, earth, water, and fire, and each city shows 2 elements, and each of the dream cards shows 1 element. So here you can see 2 earth, 2 water, 1 fire. Each card, so all fires that are positive will be a +4, all fires that are negative will be a -1, and you have here the reference. So with this information you kind of know how to expect. So negative fire will always be a -1. We have finished setting up, so now we draw our hand of 4 cards. Unfortunately they are all negative, but I have here this city that is gonna need several negative cards, so this is not the end of the world. And on your play you can do one of 2 things. You can either play a card or discard a card. When you discard the card, you can check cities for balance, which right now none of them is in balance, or you can swap the position of 2 cards on the same side. So I could, for example, discard any card to swap this card with this card in an attempt to put the city more in balance. So let's see what we can do. Right now we only have negative cards. We have a bunch of -3s and a -1, and our first city is right now unbalanced towards the negative side, so we are not gonna pile on. These 2 are also on the negative side, and then we have here this one that is a -7, +7, so we need to find a way to play a -7. And luckily we have high cards that we can play here, so this earth symbol, that's what we are gonna do. We play here a -3, and we draw another card, and we got more of the negative cards. So we are gonna keep trying to increase here our values, because I can actually see that luckily the cards that we can play here, which is the earth and the fire, actually add up to -7. So -3, -3, -6, and a -1, a -7, so we might be able to put this city in balance. We finally got a positive card, this is good. We are gonna finish balancing this city. So this city is now in balance. I could now discard the card to just get rid of this city and start working on the next one. However, there is a rule, which is when you balance the cities, you manage to balance the 4 of them at the same time, you actually get rid of a city in addition. So it's good whenever possible to get the 4 cities in balance, so perfect balance. And even if you cannot make a perfect balance, if you don't just discard a card in order to check for balance every time, you save some cards. So I can see here that in positive I have 4. But yeah, so this row would care about that 4, which is not enough right now. So what we are going to do is we are going to play this air here. It's the only place that can take air. And now we are here with a +3, -2, but we will do some shenanigans of moving cards around in order to balance. Oh, okay. We have here +4 that we can play here. And now this city is in balance, so -4 + 4 is 0. We're going to keep drawing. And now what I want to do is put a 3 here to make this city be in balance. So since I have a lot of negative cards, I'm going to discard 1 card to swap the position of 2 cards. And what I achieve with this is that this city is in balance, and this city has a -4. And as we see here, fire, +1, is always a +4. So if I get lucky and I draw one of those, I will be able to balance that city. So that was not the case. I could keep playing cards, but what I'm gonna do is actually check for balance, because I have 3 out of the 4 cities in balance, so it sounds like a good time to do it. I discarded 1 card, so this city is in balance, so 7 and 7, done. This city is in balance, 3 and 3, and this city is in balance, so we get rid of this. We get rid of all these cards, and we keep going. So now we reset the city display by drawing new cities. Our goal is to get rid of all these cities and all of that deck. And now we need to load the cities with the initial dreams. The rule is that when you are loading the city with the initial dreams, these symbols don't matter. You simply draw 2 cards and you place it at that city. But when you play from your hand, you need to respect the fact that you can only play cards if the symbols match. So now we are getting all the positive. We got a chaos card, which becomes positive, and then here we got one that became negative. And now we refill our hand. So we can see here that we have chaos. We could try to move chaos around as long as they stay in the same side to help us balance. Let's see, here we are going to need a -4, which can be pretty hard because a +4 only exists in the positive side, never in the negative side. The negative side has twice -3s, and this is something that you need to use to your advantage, understanding which type cards are around. So for example, here I can see that I have a -8, so I'm going to need to make the numbers here be quite large. Even if I manage to move a 5, it's still going to be a -3 minus something else. So I'm going to play a card here to start increasing these values. Alright, not bad. So I would like to probably move this over here. This is a -6. Oh, actually it's not a big problem because I have here 2 cards that I can play here that go to -6. And that's what I'm going to start doing, working on that balance over there. Gonna keep going. Alright. Right now this city is in balance. There are things that can mess with it. So when you draw chaos, you can do one of 3 things. One thing is do what we have been doing. Put it in a city that is not in balance to increase the balance. Another thing we can do is discard all cards in a city in balance. So I could discard all these cards. And the last thing you can do is discard the chaos and discard the top 4 cards of the deck, which makes you close to defeat, because if you are ever unable to draw a card, you lose the game, and you need to be able to get rid of all the cities before that happens. So here we have a -8, which is very hard to achieve right now. So what can we do? So I see an opening. What I'm gonna do is put here a -1. So this is now a +4 -1, and then I am going to discard 1 card, swap this chaos with this other dream. Now I have here -5 +4, and I'm gonna play here a water drop, and now I have +5 -5, balanced. This one is up to -2. Oh no, a chaos. This chaos did not come in a good time. I'm gonna play it here in the negative side. Alright, so I could probably make, so I can make this city go in balance. So now it's also balanced. This one is gonna be a tough proposition unless I get a bunch of fire, which is not looking likely right now. So let's see. So I could once again balance 3 cities. I'm saying if I can move this chaos to, for example, this row to try to get rid of it. So what I could do is move this here, and then I would have a -3, -5, 8, which then I could balance further with this. And then in this row, I would have 7, which we could make work. But I'm not going to. I am going to discard this card to balance the 3 cities that are in balance. So this one, that one. And now we discard all these cards. And once again, we add new cities to the board. We have 2 cities left. We need to load them. Okay, chaos and a positive one. That's actually good for us because we already had the chaos there. Now a negative and more chaos. And we reset our hand of cards. So this city is not too far away from chaos. These ones are. So what could I do? Not much right now. Let's see. I'm going to start loading cards here because I'm gonna need them. That's a lot of earth, and you might realize that I can actually not play these cards because nothing of these cities is taking earth. This is a danger, so if you are ever down to, like, for example, 2 cities, you need to watch out because you might be locked out of playing cards, which is never a good thing to have. So I know that this one can take earth and fire. So what I'm gonna do, since I cannot use these earth cards right now, I'm gonna swap this card with that one. So now I here have a -7. And then I'm gonna swap some more cards around. Yeah, I'll go here. So now that city is in, oh, chaos. It's not the end of the world because I actually need to get some positive numbers to make this row more valuable. So this city is in balance. This one has a 7. This city is actually in balance. So I'm sorry, I couldn't play this card here because you cannot play. You have to play it on the side that is higher, and this is a 7. I could not just put this card here. I would have to have placed it here. So let's pretend that's what I did, which is okay because I can play this one here. Oh no, another chaos. So one thing that I didn't say is each side can only have 3 cards. So I could not place this card here. This city is in balance, I cannot place it there. This side already has 3, I cannot place it there. This side already has 3, I cannot place it there. I could place it here on this side, which is something that I don't want to do. So what I'm gonna do is balance, remove all cards in the balanced city. So this one, and I draw again. Now what I wanted to do is discard. I'm gonna discard another earth. This might be a bit dangerous later. So now this city is in balance, and we keep going. I need to place some cards over here. I'm gonna do this one, which is the one I can. Okay. So here I have +4, 5. Okay, we are getting closer. We are gonna do this. So here we have 5 versus 7. Let's see what we can do. So we need to either get this one to 5 or find a way to increase it. Okay, this is in balance. I have fires. I'm gonna play a 1 fire there because I can. Oh, another fire. Interesting. Very interesting. So I know that here, as is in the reference, in the negative side, I can only play -3 and -2. Which means if I get a -2 water, I would be able to balance this as it is right now. And if I get a -1 into this row, I'll get 6, which means I could swap some things around. It's not perfect. What I'm going to do is what? Good question. I see what I'm going to do. Do I? Gonna work on balancing the city. I'm gonna discard that to move this here. So this city is now in balance, so -5 plus 5. This one is not in balance, not in balance. We are gonna keep going. Oh, perfect. So a -2. So this city is in balance, in balance, in balance. And if I can balance that one, I will be golden. And I can actually do that if no chaos comes to annoy me. So this is a -4, a 4. So now this city is in balance, 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 balance. And now I'm a bit afraid of what I'm about to do. You're gonna see in a second why. And I even wonder if I should do it. Well, you're gonna learn with me if it backfires. Because now I'm gonna discard a card in order to balance this city. Okay, so 4, 5, 5, 5, 5, 7, 7. So they are all in balance. I can remove all these cities. Because it was a perfect balance, I can remove an additional city. All these cards are gone. And now we have the danger that I was talking about. We have a single city that we can play cards to. We are gonna load it. Another thing is, I can only play cards if they match these symbols. I am not able to further manipulate the symbols that I have, which might backfire on me. So let's look at what we can do. I know that I'll be able to play fires and winds here, which can do at most -1, -3, that's a 4, and -7. So I'm a bit in danger here, but I'll show you the things that I might be able to do. So right now, the only card I can play is this one. I don't want to. I'm going to discard the card, check for balance, nothing happens. I'm going to play this -1 here. This is actually something that never happened to me. I guess I was more careful when I was not filming. I could play these 2 cards, but I definitely don't want to increase that further. So I'm going to keep discarding cards. Hoping to get some nice winds to play there. Way more fire. I don't want that. More wind. I'm going to keep it because I can play wind. All right. So now we are at -4, plus 6. And I'm counting on something to help me out. So to explain what I can do. I could discard a card, and even though there is not balance here, there are cards that add up to the same value. So for example, this is a -4 and this is a 4. So I could discard the card, check that balance is not a balance, but I can remove cards so that they add up to the same thing. Which might be what I'm going to do. Why? Because I know that I can play fires here. And if I play a fire here, it's a -1. So if I remove these cards, I will have a 2, -1, and I'm banking on being able to get an additional -1. So I'm going to play this card here, and I'm going to draw. Shouldn't have played that card there. Let's see what I can do. I see a path to victory, so I'm going to discard the card to remove cards that add up to the same value. So a -2 and a 2. So it's not in balance, but it's closer to something useful. Then I'm going to play here a -3, draw a card. Play here a +2, draw a card. And now I have balance because I have 6 and 6. Discarding a card. The city is in balance. And I won the game. So it's rare, or it was rare at least for me. I already played this new version at least 10 times. And I never got into this situation that I saw here where I had a single city and I was hunting down the cards that I really needed. Because this is something that you should watch out for. It's something that happened now. But I would suggest that you keep some cities around, even if you need to throw them off balance on purpose, so that you can play cards, because I was severely limited on the cards I could play. And I was lucky to have Grit and Rhythm of all the chaos beforehand. So that was the base game of Urbion. So now I'm just gonna show you the expansions that you have available to you. Alright, let's look at the expansions. So Urbion, much like every other game in the Impatience line, comes with several expansions in the base game. In addition to the expansions, you have the 2-player mode. So in the 2-player mode, player A will get one of these cards, player B will get the other one. So player A would be, let's say, stuck playing only positive cards, and player B stuck playing only negative cards. But throughout the game, when you discard a card, you can choose to, instead of either swapping the position of 2 cards or checking for balance, you can swap these 2 cards, and now player A can play negative cards and player B can play positive cards. So That's for the 2-player game. It's a bit harder because you now have restrictions on which cards you can play, which forces you to discard more cards. Now let's go through the expansions in the order that they make sense to me to explain, not really the order that they are in the rulebook. So here we have the city-based expansions, and here we have other expansions. So let's start here with the arch squares in the meta. So arch squares are cities. You simply shuffle this into the city deck, and they are additional cities that you need to get rid of. So instead of 12, you now need to get rid of 16 cities. But as you can see here, these cities, you can play any, here you can play any element on them. So they are a bit easier to get rid of. And the metas are both incubi and sonai, so they are both positive and negative. When you play them, you choose how you play them, and they have both of the symbols. Then we have kind of the reverse of the expansions, the temple and concords. So temples are once again cities, but as opposed to normal city cards, they only have one element instead of two. And you shuffle this into the city deck. Once again, you can mix and match expansions as you see fit. And here you have the concords. So the concords have the wilds, so they all can be placed on either side, and they all give you +1 or -1. They can be placed on any city. So these two expansions are kind of the reverse of one another. Then we have the Hanging Gardens. The Hanging Gardens are once again cities, but as you will notice, they have no symbol here, which means that you cannot play cards directly onto them, which, as you can imagine, makes it very hard to balance these cities because you can play no cards there. And that's where the wizards come in. You shuffle those into the dream deck as usual. You can see that they are wizards because they have the star here next to their number, and they can be placed just as any other card, or you can discard them. And what they do is that they unlock 2 new powers. They are called, what are they called? You can trigger a super effect. Super effect, so not a superpower, a super effect. So instead of swapping, checking for consensus, which means balance, or swapping the 2-player card, you can trigger one of 2 things, which is urban remodeling, where you can swap 2 city cards, which means that, for example, you had one of these base game cities with some cards next to it, already played, maybe it's even in balance. You discard one of these wizards and you swap the position of a Hanging Garden. So now you have played cards onto the Hanging Garden, theoretically, and now you can play cards here. What this allows you is to both manipulate it for the Hanging Gardens, but also for other cities. So it's a very cool power to be able to move cities around. Of course, you need to discard cards in order to be able to do so. Instead of urban remodeling, you can do a crossover, which allows you to move one chaos card from one side of the city to the opposite side. So let's say this is very heavily already towards this side. You can discard the wizard and the chaos goes over there. This can be very powerful. It helps you deal a lot with this very annoying chaos that can come up. Of course, when you flip, you should swap the position. So this is a +5. If you swap it over here, it's now a -5. So these are 2 super effects that you have when playing with the wizards. The cool thing is that you can trigger them by either discarding a wizard, but you can also discard any of the 2 base game cards from your hand to still trigger a super effect. Furthermore, if you discard the wizard and you don't do one of these 2 new powers, you can do the old powers twice. So you can do 2 swaps, a swap and a census. So pretty cool expansion. So those were the city-based expansions. Let's look at the other ones. Let's first look at the chromatic chaos cards. So these are chaos cards just like in the base game, although in the base game they are +5 and -5. These are +4 and -4. And how does this work? When this card comes out, you can put them on any city, so you don't have to pick a city, and you can put it on any side. You don't have to go to the side that is currently stronger. So you could put that here, and then you immediately have to draw the top card of the deck, and you can put it on any city on the respective side. So I could put it here or here. So they are chaotic because they add 2 cards, so they add the +4 or -4 plus a card from the top of the deck, but you are not as restricted. You can put it on each side that you want, the chaos itself, and the card that you are immediately forced to play, you can place it on any city. You don't need to work towards unbalancing something, so they are not as bad as the original game's chaos. With that done, let's look at the Book of Powers. So this doesn't involve cities. It's this one. So before the game starts, you're gonna shuffle these 8 cards, and you're gonna take 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you're gonna decide how far you want to go. So you are gonna reveal one of these cards. These cards are all good. They give you powers. So this card lets you discard a card to move one of these negative cards in the base game between any 2 cities. Very useful. However, because you choose to reveal this, you need now to discard 4 cards from your deck, not including Chaos, and now you can decide to keep going. Do you want more powers for your game? If you do, so if you want to reveal this one, which is kind of the counterpart of this one, it allows you to move positive dreams, you now have to discard 4 more cards. And if you keep going, revealing all these powers, but if you do, you have discarded 16 cards from your deck, which will make winning a lot harder. What do these powers do? So this is the only power that shows up twice. This one lets you move 1 negative dream from one city to another. Of course, you need to respect the rules of there can only be 3 cards, but the symbols no longer need to match. This one lets you do the same for positive dreams. This one lets you, similarly, you discard a card as usual, and it lets you destroy 1 negative card that you have on any city. Not Chaos, it needs to be an active, a generic dream card like this one, and this one lets you do the same for positive dreams. Good. So these ones go hand in hand. This one says that when you have perfect balance, so when your 4 cities are in balance and you check the balance, that you discard 1 additional city. Also pretty strong. They're all pretty strong. This one is the Book of Agorophilia. This one I have never used. You can claim an empty city. Okay, so basically, normally you only check balance when doing the census action if you actually have cards there. If you don't have cards there, the city is not in balance. This one lets you claim an empty city, so even when it's empty, you can get rid of it and work towards a victory. Lastly, you have the Book of Prophecies. You can have 1 or 2 of them in play. If you discard a card, you can take a look at the top 2 cards of the deck and put them back in any order you want. If you have both of them, you can look at the top 4 cards of the deck and put them back in any order you want. So these are all cool powers. They make the game easier, but you need to sacrifice 4 cards for each power that you choose to reveal. Up to 4 powers. Let's now get to the trickier expansions, because I feel like most of these expansions that we talked about, they make the game a bit easier. Sure, some of this you have more cities to solve, but you also have strong cards, more flexible cards, you have powers. They make the game a bit easier, I feel. However, these 2 expansions have completely destroyed me. I haven't been able to beat them yet. So we have the postcards to the Oniverse. So this has postcard cards and Wise Chaos cards. Wise Chaos cards are good, so if you're playing with the base game, you use 3 of them. If you are using certain expansions, you add a few more, up to a total of 6. What this lets you do is kind of a delay, not avoid, Chaos card. So if you draw a card and you don't want to deal with it immediately, you can remove a Wise Chaos from your supply, and you can put the Chaos card beneath 4 cards in the deck, which means that after 4 turns you're gonna get this card back and you're gonna have to deal with it, but it lets you delay a little bit the pain. That's what they do. This is to offset the added difficulty of these cards, the postcards. How do they work? When you have a city card and you're populating it in the beginning, so you're gonna fill it up with this card, and before you draw the second one, you're gonna draw the top postcard and you're gonna put it here, and then you're gonna finish loading the city. These cards have special rules. Usually they are conditions. So this one is checking if when you balance this city, you have a sequence of 1, 2, 3, 4 or 2, 3, 4, 5. So you need to have things like this happening. Let me find some more cities. Of course, you need to have 4 cities for this to work. But in this scenario, you would be trying to do, for example, 1, 2, a 3 here somewhere, and a 4. So you would have to have a sequence of 4 numbered cards in the 4 cities. They can loop around, but it's a lot trickier to achieve this sort of conditions. So you have things like this one, where you need this sequence. This one says you need to have perfect balance, things like that. This you check whenever you claim a city. What happens is that if you fulfill this condition, perfect. You put this positive number side up onto your supply. But if you fail a condition, let's say you did it here, you put it negative side on the supply. At the end of the game, you're going to check this the total number that you have, and if your total is less than 0, you lost the game, even though you got rid of all the cities. So in this scenario, I would never only have 2 cards, I would have to have as many postcards as the number of cities. I would have -1, I would lose the game. And the pluses are always +1 and the negatives are always -2. So you're gonna have to complete a lot of these conditions to win the game. So most of the postcards are conditions that you check at when the city is claimed, but you also have this one with the red borders that instead of conditions, they have a special effect. For example, this one, at the beginning of each turn, you reveal this, rotate this card. And if this card ever makes a full rotation, it goes here as a negative number. So you fail to balance that city quickly enough. However, if you manage to claim that city before this does a full rotation, it goes in the positive number. You have other chaotic cards here. Let me see. So this card, each turn, no, it's not. Each turn it moves. If you move this card, so if it's here and you swap this card with this one, you failed this card. This card is negative. So you have to be able to balance this city without moving this card with a postcard on it. So postcards are a very big challenge. And that was the postcards to the Oniverse, tough expansion. And now let's go to the last expansion, which is called the Emptiness. So the Emptiness uses 8 cards and this little Emptiness figure. You know that the Oniverse always comes with a little figure. You would set up the game like normal. You would have here a city deck. You would have 4 cards. At the beginning of each turn, this figure will move. And what is going to happen is that when you check for balance, you're going to do one of 3 things. If the city where this is on is in balance, you're going to remove this card from the game. If it's not in balance, so let's just put some scenarios here to make it easier to see. So these are positive, not in balance. Okay. So if it's here, this city is not in balance, and I checked for balance because I wanted to, for example, balance this city. I discard all these cards. So now this city is empty, which is annoying for 2 reasons. First, you discarded any progress that you make. And second, whenever you check for balance, if there's an empty city, you need to do the loading again. So you're adding chaos to your game. If the city where this is on is in balance, perfect. You remove one of these cards from the game, which is good because you need to remove this in order to win. And lastly, if you check for balance in an empty city, like it is now, you immediately lose the game. So this is pretty bad. So this is going to move, and you're sometimes going to have to delay when you check for senses so that you get this in the best position possible. So it starts here, then it goes around, it loops around. Whenever you check a city that is in balance, you remove one of these figures. Alternatively, you can discard a card from, not a card from your hand, 2 cards from your hand. One negative and one positive. If you do this, you remove this and you send this guy back to the top. What is the benefit here? You're getting closer to victory, and you're also removing it from the city it's currently on in case it was in a danger position. Whenever you manage to remove this, you actually can claim a city. So it's a pretty nice thing to do. So you will remove one of these cities that you already, that you still had to finish. This one has also whooped me up and down. So tough expansion. And those are the 7 expansions to Urbion. So if you tried the original, the base game doesn't change at all. It's still the same exact game. The expansions are more and more interesting. So some are very much straightforward. So normally you can mix and match all sorts of expansions in your Oniverse games. You can choose to use one or to mix and match them. Normally I don't mix and match them that much. Here I feel that the first few expansions you can mix and match, especially if you use Book and Powers, you can mix and match this one with any of the other ones. Here I would actually recommend to mix it because otherwise these first expansions don't feel too different. However, these last 2 expansions I was talking about, those are a serious challenge. So either you can take them either alone, or you can choose to use the Book of Powers or these ones that give you more flexible dreams to support you a little bit more. And that's it. That's Urbion. If you've played it, you know what it is. If you haven't played it, I enjoy it. I've enjoyed every game on the Oniverse. This was the second one to come out, and I'm really happy to see it come out in this new format. Still a very fun game. Not as complex as, for example, Siberian, which was the last one in the Oniverse line, but still a worthy addition, be it at solo or two players. So, thanks a lot for watching and have a great day.